everybody. Welcome to the Pennsylvania Horse Racing Commission meeting, public meeting. Just a note of thanks to each of the commissioners for your service on the commission, for stakeholders who are with us here in the room and online. Thank you for your support of the industry. As a reminder, since we're in a hybrid setting, to please identify yourself if you're speaking, mute yourself if you're not. Would appreciate for the stenographer's benefit, and obviously identifying yourself and spelling your name if you are speaking, so we can get that accurate spelling for the record. I want to say thank you again to Tom and Tony on behalf of the department for the work they do in the commission. We'll hear about some of that work today, but always want to express our appreciation to you. As we do at the outset of each meeting, just to note that this meeting was properly advertised in accordance with the Sunshine Law. And by way of notice, the Commission conducted an executive session to engage in quasi-judicial deliberation to be adjudicated at the public meeting and engage in attorney-client privilege communication. So with that, welcome to all. Let's pick up with the public meeting agenda. You have before you 3 sets of minutes. We'll do these as individual actions. September 26th and October 10th, special and work session and administrative action as well. So we'll take the first one, September 26th minutes. You had a chance to review those. I have a motion to approve those minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion, Commissioner Sweeney on the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, any abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. Same with the October 10th special meeting minutes for the work session. For the motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion. Commissioner Ruddy on the second. Discussion. Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. And the third set of minutes will be the administrative action of October 10th special meeting. Do the motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Rogers on the motion. The second.
Second.
Mr. Ellis, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, those in favor of approving the October 10th special meeting minutes for administrative action, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions, motion carries. Thank you. And again, just to note that over time and mute this, getting some feedback in the room. If you could please just mute yourself unless you're speaking. Thank you. On with the presentations. Let's begin, Tracy, with the September financial report. Tracy Gutwald, our Chief Financial Officer. Tracy.
Good evening, Secretary and Commissioners. Looking at the racing fund balance at the end of September, the beginning balance was $5,599,000. Revenue was $2,881,000. Expenditures were $1,883,000, bringing the balance as of September 30th to $6,597,000. Revenue and expenditures for the commission. Revenues for the month were $898,000. Personnel expenditures were $666,000. Operating expenditures were $96,000, bringing the total expenditures for the month to $762,000. For testing, there is still no resource development trust fund transfers because we still do not have a fiscal code. Personnel expenditures were $574,000. Operating were $511,000. Total expenditures for the month were $1,084,000. Just a note in regards to both of the personnel costs, they are in the process of processing the 5% raise retroactively back to July 1st. That will hit in November. Just so you're aware, there'll be a jump in personnel costs in November, but it's a retroactive adjustment that's going to be occurring for July through the end of October. Moving on to promotion, the Racehorse Development Trust Fund transfer occurred, which was $1,983,000. There was expenses for that month of $27,000. Moving on to the comparative revenue and expenditures for the commission and testing combined. There was a 52% decrease in revenue, again, largely made up of the lack of the transfer for the Racehorse Development Trust Fund. Personnel expenditures were up 1%. Operating expenditures were up 102%. That is being driven by UPenn payments and corresponding decrease in IT of $81,000, which was last year due to replenishment of computers and order that was being placed. And there's also a corresponding decrease in laboratory supplies of $71,000, which is a direct result of the negotiation of the contract, the new UPenn contract, and UPenn purchasing the laboratory supplies rather than the Commonwealth. So they're contained up in the contract increase. Overall, then, total expenditures increased 31%. The remaining financial statements then are for the restricted funds. Questions?
Yeah, Tracy, if you could just go back to the consolidated report, the lab supply change, and so the difference between the Commonwealth purchasing and Penn purchasing is $71,000.
Yeah, so for 2023, you're seeing only a purchase of $17,000 for this month versus, or for year to date of $17,000 versus last year was $88,000. Last year, the Commonwealth was purchasing the lab supplies for the lab, and so they were on the lab supply line. This year, they're going to be included up in the other specialized service or UPenn line, because UPenn is now purchasing the lab supplies rather than the Commonwealth. Commonwealth is only now purchasing laboratory supplies at the racetracks, not at the lab.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just point us to the right line where that shows up.
So other specialized services, the line that's $2,100,000.
Oh, I got it, okay.
Yeah, that's the UPenn line. That's going to include not only lab supplies, but contracted maintenance agreements for the equipment. So some of the increase you're seeing there is due to that changeover in the contract. Also, that's not just the changeover in contract, the difference there, that's a matter of difference in payment number of months.
I was going to say, if it's that significant, we'll just get Penn to do all of our purchasing. But not the case.
Right.
Okay, any other questions for
Tracy, you indicated that the motion line was $1,092,000 and change, but yet only $47,000. Then is that something that is that we sitting on the request for that, Tom, or where we stand?
No, actually, the grant agreements are downtown, waiting for approval. So the 23-24 grant agreements are not yet finalized and in place. So this is expenditures against last year's remaining funding. Or in this case, advertising would be the 23-24 funding.
All right, so that we're still waiting for approval from a downtown for those grant requests, is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, and just so you know, we just made the transfer during September, so that's not uncommon. There's usually at least a 30-day turnaround time from the time we create those type of agreements until they get approved and encumbered. So they're downtown waiting just to be encumbered.
Okay, so it's been more than 30 days since we put it in, you're saying, right?
No, No, it has not been one voted.
That we committed September, this is November 1st.
Well, not everybody, let me answer this.
Yeah.
Let me take two tasks. First off, there were some late submissions. There's even one organization that hasn't submitted their plan yet. So we can only submit them once we receive them. So there were a couple I received in September, and I sent them down within a week or two when I got them. There's still one organization that hasn't submitted it, so they're not even downtown for an approval, Commissioner. The other issue is, as you're well aware with the fiscal code, that this commission took a look at this, and the $1.9 million, it's going to take some time to process because we're waiting on the fiscal code to provide funding for the testing program and so on. So as we move forward, this is not going to turn around in 30 days.
I thought this was not part of the fiscal code.
It's not, but remember, Commissioner, as explained to you before, we're operating without the $10 million transfers, of which at this stage would be over $3 million. I'm trying to make it, we're trying to ensure that the commission continues to operate, racing continues to operate, and there's no hiccup in racing. So as soon as the fiscal code comes, then it can be released. And the second issue is, like I said, not every organization has submitted their plan.
So did we tell that organization those that they're in arrears? Is that correct?
I talked to the organization earlier, at the end of last week, and they said they're going to be getting it in this week.
Okay, and so that means, and I agree with you and I understand the problem, but the statute says that money is to be used for that purpose. You're just sitting on it
And it will
because...
be, Commissioner, it will be used for that purpose.
Okay. Well, I'm a little confused as to why we're sitting on it. It will be used for that purpose. But I understand what you said.
Yeah, if I just said, this is a cash management issue, right? So, as we spoke earlier, I mean, we may have to reach into the general government operating department to actually cash flow the commission's work. We don't want to exacerbate that by releasing dollars that have an intended purpose, like promotion and marketing. So it's a cash management. As soon as we get a fiscal code, we can release that and take the burden off, hopefully take the burden off some of our DGO. So it's a cash issue. We understand it ultimately has to go, but getting those sort of in the queue is good. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions on September finances or finances in general? Okay, Tracy, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, on to UPenn research report. Dr. Robinson's with us. Thanks, Tracy. Always good to see you. Welcome. And I see there's a report I believe you've handed out here to the commission. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's been a long time since we've had a research report, so there's a lot of information in here. The last one was in December of 2022 to summarize research in 2022. So I'm going to try to be as clear and as brief as possible in the interest of time, but please don't hesitate to ask me any questions that you may have as I'm going along. So we've had 4 manuscripts published to date in 2023. One of them was initially published online, available online in 2022, but is now officially published in print. It's the Administration and Detection of Gene Therapy in Horses, a Systematic Review. So this was a review article that Dr. Haffen, Dr. Ortbed, and myself pulled together to summarize the different types of gene therapy that's being investigated for therapeutic use in horses. And then we presented also the risk for gene doping as well by the advances in this particular area of research. The second manuscript is entitled Automated Identification of Unknown Doping Agents in Confiscation Samples by Flow Injection Mass Spectrometry and Mass Spectral Library Searches. The first author on this is Dr. Fuyu Wan, who is a research professor in my lab. And this was a progress in the automation of trying to figure out what is in a sample that's confiscated by our special investigators at the tracks. So when they find something that they want us to investigate and try to figure out what's in it, Dr. Guan came up with a process that try and automate that process and make it a little bit faster and easier for us to do that and more comprehensive. The third paper that was published is called Factors Affecting Untargeted Detection of Doping Agents in Biological Samples. And this is also, Dr. Guan is the first author on this manuscript as well. This is a really exciting field of research that he is really pioneering to try to identify agents that are in use that we are not specifically targeting for detection. So this means that if we don't know what was given, and we're looking for anything in that sample that may indicate that something is different about that sample versus the samples from all the other horses in the race. So I'm not going to go into any detail. There's a lot of math involved. He's developed some algorithms. He actually we recently just obtained a grant from the Racing Medication and Testing Consortium to further this research and using artificial intelligence to try and identify agents that just really aren't even on our radar yet. So I'm really excited about this research, and I'll share in a minute that we've shared some of this at the conferences we've been attending as well. The fourth manuscript there is the use of liquid chromatography, tandem mass spectrometry to quantify and confirm the fentanyl metabolite, malonic acid, and equine urine for doping control. And this is a method that Dr. Yuan Yu, one of my senior chemists, he's also a research associate professor now in the lab, developed to look at the metabolite of fentanyl in equine urine. We have attended 6 conferences this year, so there's been a resurgence of being able to go to in-person conferences. It was really fantastic to be able to get to see our colleagues in person again and share research with them and learn from them. And so the first one that we attended, 3 of us attended, is the biennial American Academy of Veterinary Pharmacology and Therapeutics Symposium, which was in Rockville, Maryland. It's the group that I am a diplomat of, the American College of Veterinary Clinical Pharmacology, joins the people who work at FDA at this conference. And so we talk about pharmacological studies at that conference. It was really good to be able to see them again in person. The ASMS Conference on Mass Spectrometry and Allied Topics is one that our chemists attend. And in the past it's been virtual, but this year again it was in person for the first time since COVID. So I had 5 people attend that conference, and this is a great training opportunity for our chemists as well. We had some of our younger chemists presenting their work at this conference, getting feedback on their work, and also being able to associate with their senior members in their field of chemistry. The American College of Veterinary Internal Medicine Forum was held in Philadelphia this year. That is the group of diplomats. It's put on by diplomats in the American College of Veterinary Internal Medicine, and also the college that I am associated with jointly supports this conference. So I was invited to speak at this conference, and we were also able to have a student attend since it was in Philadelphia. We had a veterinary student who'd been working in our lab attend as well. The International Conference of Racing Analysts and Veterinarians is one that we've not had since 2018 was the last time that this conference was held. It's typically held every 2 years. It was in Hong Kong this year, so it's quite a long trek to get there, but it was well worth the journey. We had 6 people go and a postdoc. So there's a postdoc in my lab who was able to get a travel award to be able to attend to help support her attendance. And then Dr. Guan and myself, Dr. Guan was invited to give 2 different presentations at the conference. And our statistician, Darko Stefanovsky, was also invited to give a presentation on some of the really interesting work he's doing using big analytics, big data. So that was a paper that we had published previously looking at TCO2 in standardbreds and base access in standardbreds. We have 10 years worth of data, and he was invited to come and talk about how that data looks after 10 years of doing this type of testing, and basically supported that the thresholds that we have in place are still appropriate today. Then the Society for Leukocyte Biology is a conference that one of my molecular biologists, Dr. Jinwen Chen, attended and presented at. That's a great conference for understanding the different biomarkers that we have been looking at in the blood samples of horses to understand how those biomarkers may be used for drug detection as well as injury detection. And then the final one on there is the American College of Veterinary Surgeons Summit. I had a student who was a fantastic student working in the lab present a poster, and she was also invited to present a talk at this conference. And so it was really a great experience, and I've received a lot of feedback that she did excellent. I was unfortunately not able to attend. I'm not a surgeon, so it's not on my list of conferences, but my colleague, Dr. Kyle Orfed, is the surgeon and helped co-mentor her, and she did, well represented us and presented some really interesting work there on biomarkers of injury in horses. All right, so on the next page, I've already very briefly mentioned that there were 5 different invited oral presentations for the various conferences that we attended. I gave a talk at ACVIM. Dr. Guan gave 2 talks at the ICRAB in Hong Kong. Dr. Stepanovsky gave a talk at ICRAB in Hong Kong, and then our student Elise Friedman, she was a veterinary student, was also invited to give a talk at the ACVS Summit. There are 16 abstracts that we've presented. I'm not going to go through all of those, so you can leave a sigh of relief. I'll just very briefly say we had 3 abstracts presented at AEPT, 4 at the ASMS conference, 2 at ACVIM, 5 at ICRAB, 1 at the SLB conference, and 1 at the ACVS Summit. And so if you'd like to hear any more about any of those projects, I'm certainly happy to connect with you at a later date. It's been obviously a really productive year getting back to conferences, and it's been quite some time since we've been able to do that. So it's exciting, and it's really helpful for pushing the work forward and pushing the field forward. Are there any questions?
Questions or comments? I have a question. So back to the manuscripts, I'm intrigued by, this is number 3.
Yes.
When we talk about factors, just help me understand what would the factors be? What are the types of things that we should think about that are in consideration for untargeted detection?
So the factors that are affecting untargeted detection are very technical. It's the factors of what instrument you're using, how you're actually using that instrument, so what settings you're using. It's the way.
So they're not like environmental factors? Or
No.
Okay.
No. It's from a technical standpoint. What are the different pieces of the equipment that we need to take into consideration? The settings that we want that equipment to run under are taken into consideration, and then in addition, what he's developed is these algorithms to compare. Say we get 12 samples from a given race day. We may expect that 1 or possibly 2 of those could have something in it. Can we compare all of the things that we're detecting in that sample set across each other? And this is where it gets complicated, to be honest. It's not something that I very well understand either.
We know how you feel.
This black box of AI.
You know exactly how you feel.
But how do you look at everything that the instrument is measuring, which is, that's just thousands and thousands of data points, to then compare across samples and find maybe those things in one of those samples that is not like the others. And so then there's all this criteria as to what cutoff value you use to indicate where there's an anomaly. And then, of course, there's further work that needs to be done if an anomaly is found to be able to go and try and figure out what that is and what that means. So it's the very general basic idea is that now we've got this technology that can measure very small amounts of things very precisely, and can we use that to then compare samples against each other and identify what is normal and what is not. And then I think the next step of that process is then saying, okay, what is normal for the general horse and what is not, but then we have to go start looking at the individual. What is normal for this individual over time and what is not? So it's essentially it's pushing us in the direction of the biological passport, where you're taking, the sample and trying to understand what should be there, so that if there's something that's there that shouldn't be, you can easily identify it and detect it, and then figure out what that is, and pursue that from an investigative standpoint. Does that help?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you. That's good. Other questions, comments? I think just a note of, sorry, there's one
I
online.
think Dr. DeVundas, or Commissioner DeVundas turns.
Okay.
Yeah, two things. The report that you gave out, for those commissioners who are not there, can I ask Tom to please distribute that? Thank you. The other thing is that I think that we looked at your work and your testing versus HISA. And I noticed that, tell me how that's affected by HISA, how your testing and other things that you're doing are being affected by the implementation of HISA for thoroughbreds.
Well, HISA has not directly altered the research that we're doing. So the research is funded by the Racing Commission independently of HISA.
Correct, but I thought as a follow-up to some of the discussions we had back in October, that you were going to kind of give us an idea of what's happening with respect to the cost of the testing for HISA. Am I incorrect?
So the cost of testing certainly has gone up, and I think we discussed in October that is due to the increased number of tests that we're running for HISA.
I recall that.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. So you're correct, yes. The HISA has certainly increased the amount of work that we have to do on the forensic side. I think of it as two different pieces of the puzzle. So we've got the post-race samples that we're testing on a regular basis as part of our forensics work. And then we've got the research that we're doing to try to improve the tests that we have as part of our research. And they're independent of each other. Once we get a new test developed and validated, we can incorporate that into our routine forensic testing. And I would say that process has not been affected by HISA. If anything, HISA has accelerated the incorporation of some of the tests that we had. Many of the tests that we have incorporated, we already had in existence, and HISA asked us to run those on more samples than what we were currently doing previously. So the technology was there. The research had to be done to try and make it as efficient as possible. But the research that I'm presenting today, this is the publications and going to conferences and pushing the testing. These are tests that I would say, I can't speak in general terms, but these have not been implemented yet. These are tests that are still in development, that we're publishing and we're sharing with the community to say, here's what we think is really going to push us to the next level, even beyond what we're currently doing for HISA.
And I just want to thank you for all the work you've done to make you probably the best well-known drug program in the country, and thank you for all of your effort and your staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Just a little thanks. I mean, I think that we're reminded every time you speak about the complexities of the work that we're responsible for as commissioners, and just the evolving science around that, but also at the end of the day, there's a civics part of this, right? Somebody has to understand this stuff, right, and explain this to. So this equilibrium between the science and the civics, very helpful when you do it well. So thank you, and please extend to the faculty, staff, and students appreciation.
Absolutely, will do. They're amazing. If I could just give my team a shout out, I work with amazing staff members and other faculty members at New Bolton Center. Really, I'm happy to be the mouthpiece. It's really a privilege to be up here to be able to share all of this with you. It's certainly not something I'm doing all by myself.
Very good, thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you.
Okay, Tom, you want to say?
Sure. The next will be a presentation from Gene Schreier from First Technology LLC SPMO report. As common practice for the commission, when an entity makes a request to be a vendor for the Commonwealth or a TOTE or an ADW or an SPMO, generally the commission has to come in and give a brief presentation of who you are, what you intend to do in Pennsylvania. And if the commission has any questions, please feel free to ask. Nicole, I believe he's online. He's online. Gene, welcome aboard, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. First off, I want to extend a thank you to Tom Chukis and Nicole McCrow, and also George for all the help that they gave me in preparing the application for First Technologies. As you know, that is a parent company of not only ExpressBet, but also the site that we want to use under this SPMO license, which is BetMix. It's a site that we own. BetMix is a very exciting purchase of First Technology. It has a lot of analytical information for our customers that they can enter in certain aspects or data points, and it'll help them form their wagers. We want to do a few different things with this particular URL to build front ends to it, and we kind of want to experiment with that in Pennsylvania. And obviously, anything that we do with this site will seek approval from Tom and Nicole to make sure that we're within the statutes of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is where we are domiciled. We're here in Pittsburgh. Most of our our headquarters is still on the back side of the meadows. We like being in Pennsylvania. That's why we're kind of using this as our testing ground for new things with BetMix through First Technology. And I just kind of want to open it up to any questions that you may have about the URL or First Tech.
Questions or comments? Commissioners? No hands here. Gene?
Very good.
Okay.
Just for the record, the application has been thoroughly vetted by the Director of Licensing and the Office of Chief Counsel in reviewing those matters along with the Bureau of Register. So we appreciate Gene's information in providing all those records.
Okay, thank you. So is there approval? There's approval today, then, right?
That is correct.
Okay, good.
There's a review. Whether or not you ultimately approve it, that's up to you.
Okay, thank you, Counsel. Very good. Okay, thanks.
The next item on the presentation is, as common practice for the commission, the entities that have received the grant money will come in and make a presentation, a brief presentation of what they've done in the past and where they think they're going in the future. Generally, the presentation is 10-15 minutes. The first one up will be MSOA. I believe they're online on Teams. I see Jennifer there, Jen. And I don't know if Kim's online also, but at this point I would kick it over to Jen and feel free to move forward, Jen.
Well, thank you. I'll first defer to Kim Hankins if he's on the line. Kim?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Commissioner, for this opportunity to present our marketing report. My name is Kim Hankins, K-I-M-H-A-N-K-I-N-S. Like Tom said, I'm joined by Kasha McCormick and Jennifer Mealy. They are marketing analysts and directors, so I'll turn it over to Jen and Kasha.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you all for allowing us just a few minutes of your time to update you on all of the exciting events that are happening at the Meadows Standardbred Owners Association. We've undertaken really what we believe to be a massive effort to identify audiences that may be new to horse racing, but absolutely have a propensity to wager, which is important. So what we do is we bring them in with some creative content, we gather their information, and then we engage them moment by moment. And so we've expanded what we see as the CRM, the customer relationship management database, and also implemented a loyalty rewards program. And that was very largely driven by the board at MSOA and the marketing committee of the MSOA. We really wanted us to beef up that CRM and make sure that we have that loyalty program up and running. So, of course, we've been using sports betting apps like FanDuel, DraftKings, Barstool, again, attracting people with the propensity to wager, but then introducing them to horse racing. And the ads click through to our own website, meadowsharnessracing.com, and we have a pop-up there that you can see in my report. It's a pop-up that goes to the website where we collect their information right away. And we also put some quick links on the website too, so you can click to bet now, you can click to see a free race program every day, and that's really changed the game for us by providing that free race program for sure. And we sort of really like the partnership and the influence we have with the PHRA because they're starting to use influencers, and we said, hey, we can use influencers too to reach new audiences, and that's what we did with Edison Hatter. Edison is a horse racing announcer, specifically more having thoroughbred fans, but introducing him to harness racing and introduces all of his fans to harness racing as well, which is great. So he's doing our radio, our TV voiceover. He's doing 2 on-camera race day previews a month for social. He's sharing all this on his own social media platforms, which is great. And I thought the results have been fantastic. If you look at our report, you can see our Facebook visits and our reach is up substantially. And we give him a lot of credit for that, which is wonderful. I always like to talk about the Adios whenever I come to meet with all of you because we put a lot of time and energy into promoting the Adios, but we've also created an experience both in person and online. So we have a 5-hour YouTube live stream now. It's a whole show. It's as good or better than you would see on television. And so we used the track announcer, Jeff Zidek, the former MSOA marketing director, Donnell Mock, who now works for the PHRA, and Gabe Pruitt, another harness racing announcer. So we bring them all together. We have live racing, we have commentary, interviews with the drivers. Ashley Eisenville, the PHRA marketing director, she's been great in giving us some of the pre-produced content and appearing on the show, which is wonderful. And then the in-person experience was really just as fabulous. I really think the partnership with the casino made for a great day. And weather is always indicative of what the experience is going to be on the track, but it was stupendous. And I just wanted to show you the handle. Looks fantastic. The Adios race day handle up almost 20%. Really, really pleased with that, for sure. I want to get back to that real-time connectivity with the CRM and the database that we're starting to manage more and more. People want to know what's happening right now. And so we were able to implement some real-time customer engagement strategies, text messages, emails, those things that we haven't been able to do in the past. We are now clear. We have the software and we have the database to be able to do that, which is great. I think it's important too that if we want fans to be serious about us, we have to be serious about them, and we have to update them constantly and engage them with what we're doing. We've done some great work with local media. I think you understand the value of how important it is to promote racing within the 30-mile radius of where you are, of course. So some of your money has to go to promoting that, and so we've had some live remotes. The fan radio in Pittsburgh would be like the big, whatever in your community would be like the big radio station that covers all the local sports. And so to be affiliated with them sort of puts us on the map with some of the Pittsburgh area sporting teams, which I think is great, especially when they're out there doing a live broadcast and making sure that we're taking advantage of their social media as well. So, when you log on Facebook and you're looking across the top of the screen, you can see people's stories. That's the ephemeral content. So that last 24 hours, that gets way higher engagement than a native post. And so we take advantage of that when we use places like the Fan to promote our races for sure. The other big initiative that we took on this year was partnering with In the Money podcast, the casino. This was the casino and the racing director's idea, and it just really hit home for us. We decided to split the cost. And so now this In the Money podcast is showing up and becoming part of our big races. And you can see how many participants we get in the podcast. With the help of you and the state grant, by allowing us to partner with them, we were able to pay half of what it costs to get this podcast up and running. As we said before, the social media influencers have been a big deal for us. You can see even with the PHRA helping us reach those new audiences. I mean, you have these people who have 40,000 followers, and they're going on these introducing racing to a whole new younger market, particularly women, which was interesting. And I gave them all the credit in the world for the work that they did surrounding the live stream and also the Adios, which was great. A couple of notes about the Adios live stream. We've been doing that since 2020. If you remember, we had an empty apron on 2020. I mean, can you even imagine having the Adios, the biggest race of the year in Washington County, with nobody there? And that's why we started that live stream. And then we continued it. It was so popular, 21, 22, then this year in 23. And look at our combined viewership on Facebook and YouTube this year, 76,000 views. We were kind of like giggling to ourselves, like, well, maybe we better bring makeup artists in next year. I feel like a lot of people are watching this, so it's very good. Views from the website itself, 27,000 people. Imagine getting 27,000 people to our website in one day. Very happy about that. So I put all the stats in there for you. That cost us about a little over $11,000 to produce all that. But Tasha McCormick, who is the director of marketing for the MSOA, secured sponsorships that covered the entire cost. So kudos to her. Very quickly, that local media, WPXI and KDKA, that would be the CBS and the NBC affiliates in Pittsburgh. They work with us in that 30-mile radius to try to get people to the track for different events. You can see what we've done with transit advertising throughout the Pittsburgh market. Really have beautiful purple ads that stand out. I think that creative is really important. And then our partnership with the PHRA. This is one of my favorite pieces of marketing that I've seen come out of horse racing this year. The PHRA did a scratch-off mailer. So the people are receiving this postcard in the mail. They scratch off whether it's for a free hot dog or a free soda or whatever it is. And we just absolutely love that and appreciated that they went to those extents to market for us. Last thing here we have is, like I said, about the loyalty rewards, particularly for on-track events. So we've partnered with the casino to make sure that we are connecting with Penn Play members. These are people who are, avid wagers at the casino, and they can sign up for bonus perks. So they are eligible for a free giveaway each month, VIP parties, racing vouchers, race programs, giveaways. And that's been extremely helpful in promoting our on-track events, which you can see everything from the Food Truck Festival, the Pink Out, which promotes breast cancer awareness, and draws all kinds of new people to your track when you do areas like this. And I'll end it for you. And of course, I want Tasha to be able to comment here, but look at the handle this year, and that's a direct, I think, correlation to the work that the racing director is doing to improve the product, the connection with marketing, really working to make sure that MSOA is on the map, and you can see the handle is just looking great. So Tasha, anything you want to comment on today?
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much. No, I feel you've covered everything perfectly, and we appreciate the help and the work that you do to assist the Meadows Racing, the Meadows Standardbred Owners Association, because it really does take, a village to, raise a family, but also it takes a team of people that care about horse racing and the Meadows to really help us all succeed. So thank you, and we look forward to 2024.
Can I answer any questions?
Questions for Jen, Kim, Tasha, team? So I guess just to be clear, so I look at the last page of your report and compare year to the 22 and 23, same number of days, live racing days about the same, handle, but look, a $20 million difference. Is that right?
That is the handle.
Okay. Make sure I'm looking at it right. Good.
That's what I know.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's very good. Any questions or comments? If not, thank you. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Following up, thanks again, Jen, Tasha, Kim. The next item on the presentation will be from the PHHA marketing report. It'll be Mike and Rachel here. Mike, Rachel, give this report of the name and spelling.
My name is Mike Harant, Harant, and I just want to introduce Rachel Olszewski. I'll let you spell her last name because I can't.
It's Olszewski. And thank you all for, I apologize, I'm a little hoarse today, no pun intended. Thank you all for having us here today. We don't want to take up a ton of your time, but I always like to bring before you the areas of our marketing where we have allocated the most funding to. We do a lot of things with both Paris, Philadelphia, and Pocono Downs, MOD in Pennsylvania throughout the year, but these are the areas where we spend the majority of the money because we focus on them for very specific reasons, as I'll get into. So the first is Trackmaster. We pay to have PPs on our website for every single card for both racetracks. This is our third year of operation, and I feel very confident in these numbers. The first 2 years, I felt like we were getting our footing on it, but I feel really confident in this year's numbers. Each year we've grown. As you can see on here, price per download this year has been 30 cents. When we first started, that was 55. So we are definitely growing our downloads. There's an 80% year-over-year growth at Mohegan and a 74% at Harrah's. Now, obviously, Harrah's still has cards left for this season, so it's not a complete look at their numbers, but we are doing great. One of the things I wanted to point out is international downloads. Mike and I were just talking about that on the way in. This is outside of North America. I do not include Canada in international downloads, just because we have obviously a lot of downloads from our Canadian partners. But this is showing what we get outside North America. Dubai and Sweden is our biggest international audience for downloads. We're loving this. And in our industry right now, I think you're kind of a unicorn if you don't have past performances for your betting audience, as well as owners, trainers, anybody associated with the sport. PA Harness Week is our cable show, our cable affiliate show that we do with NBC Sports Philadelphia. This year was our 15th season on air. We did have a new co-host. Jess Otten did leave us. Obviously, she's taken on a bigger role at the Meadowlands, but Susan Skinner stepped up and was our new co-host this year. We had a wonderful season. We were a hair shy of our highest ratings in 6 years. Our highest rating was in 2021 when Jess joined our crew. Jess has a built-in audience, and so we gained a lot of followers that way. We were just a hair short. So we're definitely going to take that on next year as we move forward. We have a lot of special guests, a lot of throwback features, some new social media promotions that went along with this to really celebrate the 15th season. We had some great pieces for people who have unfortunately passed away, but were with us 15 years ago. So we had a really good time this year. We did have the highest interaction on social media this season for our giveaways. We do a weekly trivia with PA Harness Week. Some related to our co-hosts, also related to the man behind the camera, Bruce Casella, and then some just related to the show in general. We got a new time slot this year, which also helped us. We were coming right out of the Phillies replay and highlight show, which until a few weeks ago everybody loved. And then that didn't work out for them. But we got the slot right after them this year. They moved us into that slot, and it was fantastic. Like I said, we are going to take on those ratings next year and really push to get to that 2021 number. Event season at both tracks, we support with our dollars highly. We are trying to really make them family experiences. Doesn't always work, but we are trying. From Sun Stakes to night racing, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve racing, Derby, camel and ostrich racing. You can see a picture there of Rich Warren. I don't think he will ever want to ride a camel again. I'm pretty sure he'll turn us down for that one next time we ask him. But we had some great crowds on those days, and we had a lot of people that don't typically come to the track, which was great. We had face painting, we had balloon artists, we had brony ponies, we had giveaways. So we really are trying to support the track in those efforts with our dollars. In addition, we're using our dollars for advertising for those events, both industry, DRF, things of that nature, but also non-industry, billboards, mainstream media. That's been where we kind of support them. And then looking ahead, I just have a couple things on here that we're going to do. I've kind of already talked about them, taking on those 2021 ratings. We really want to beat those, and also kind of creating a on-the-road segment with PA Harness Week. Heather Vitale is at the Harrisburg sale next week, so taking some of her clips from that, going out to fairs, opening days of tracks. We're really going to try and get them out of the paddock at Harris and doing some new and innovative things. Again, building a larger family experience with our track partners, that's something we strive for every year, and we're just going to continue to keep doing that. Increasing the TrackMaster downloads and decreasing that 30-cent price. I ideally would love to be below a quarter on what our price per download is. So I would love to keep pushing that. We push it on social media, we do it in all of our advertising, and we would love to continue that. And then exploring new advertising avenues. One of the biggest things that I was just recently approached about was digital geofencing. And for those of you who don't know what that is, so an advertising firm would take this room, for example. They would put a geofence around it. And you guys, you get on your phones, you get on your laptops, and you'd be served certain advertisements. So we'd like to do that around other areas. The Phillies Stadium, for example, we know those people have a propensity to go towards sports and betting. So trying to utilize some of our competitors to our advantage and serve them advertisements for our product and not for where they are. Any questions? I know I ran through that kind of fast, but I
Good. No, questions, comments? I meant to ask Kim and his team, but who's your target audience? I mean, you referenced that in terms of they're sports-minded.
Sports-minded.
What about age brackets?
Age bracket is usually, we say like 35 and up. I've been with the PHHA for 4 years. It's always been male, but we are seeing a skew towards female bettors, to be honest with you, which is a little bit of a change. A pleasant one, but it's a little bit of a change. So.
Rachel, on the past performance, do they download that from your website?
They do. And those numbers, we do them on a weekly basis, just because we kind of keep a week's worth of racing together. So, for example, Pocono will be a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's the numbers you're looking at. We do it in a cumulative.
That's good. Other questions, comments? If not, Rachel, Mike, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Thank you. Okay, move to administrative actions.
Under administrative actions, we have two before we get to legal counsel. The first one is, Mr. Chairman, a motion to approve the simulcast calendars for November 2023 for the Harness Tracks, Harris, Philadelphia, Mohegan Sun, Pocono, and the Meadows.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the simulcast calendar for the Harness Tracks?
So moved.
Commissioner Sweeney, thank you. Commissioner White in a second. Sorry. Yeah, Commissioner White. All those, sorry, discussion on the motion?
Aye.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries.
The next motion, Mr. Chairperson, is motion to approve the simulcast calendars for November for the Thoroughbred Tracks in 2023 for Parks, Penn National, and Prescott House.
Thank you, Tom.
I will move the motion.
And thank you, Commissioner Devine, on the motion to approve the simulcast calendars for the Thoroughbred Tracks. Do we have a second? Commissioner White on the second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, George, to licensing and adjudications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've come to that time of year again where we are, the commission is renewing various licenses. My goal here, Mr. Chairman, is to read one order per category, and it would be applicable to the specific entities within that category. So if you look at your agenda, racing vendors, I will read one order, and that will be applicable to docket numbers 2023 through 12 through 22. And then so on and so forth with the tow companies and the SPMOs. But I will read and ask this commission to for an approval of the proposed order. As I said earlier, with First Technology, this commission, through its Director of Licensing and the Office of Chief Counsel, as well as the two directors, have reviewed all of the documentation, all of the applications for renewal of these various entities. And the following will be the proposed recommendations and orders. So as to racing vendors, bear with me, I will read. And now this 31st day of October 2023, pursuant to section 9351B1 of the Racing Act, the above racing vendor, as defined in section 9301 and as determined by the commission, is seeking to renew its license to provide goods and services to a licensed racing entity directly related to racing or the racing product. Pursuant to section 9358 of the Act, this racing vendor license is valid for a period of 1 year, commencing January 1st, 2024. In accordance with the statutory authority set forth in section 9353B and its regulatory authority set forth in section 187.4, the commission has reviewed the submitted renewal application and the pertinent information from the racing vendor, including any subsequent changes from its previously approved license application. Based upon the commission's review and consideration, it is ordered that the above referenced racing vendor license renewal application is hereby granted for the year 2024. It is further ordered that the commission's approval is issued upon the ongoing general conditions of compliance set forth in the Act and with the following specific conditions. 1, the racing vendor shall provide the commission with written notice of any modifications, changes, or amendments to the racing vendor agreement as submitted and approved for the commission no later than 15 business days after such modification, change, or amendment. Number 2, the racing vendor shall provide the commission written notification of the election to terminate or not renew the vendor agreement no later than 15 business days after such election. Number 3, the racing vendor's license may not be conveyed, assigned, or transferred to any other person or third party without the prior approval of the commission. And that can be taken as an order as written.
Okay, thank you, counsel. Do we have a motion to approve the license renewals for racing vendors?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Ellis on the motion and Commissioner Rogers on the second. Discussion on this motion? Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the motion for license renewals of racing vendors, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next category is for totalizator companies or totes. That would be applicable to docket numbers 2023-23 through 2023-25. The following order is the proposed order. And now this 31st day of October 2023, pursuant to section 9351B1 of the Racing Act, the above totalizator entity as defined in section 9301 and as determined by the commission is seeking to renew its license to utilize a computer system used to pool wagers, record sales, calculate payoffs, and display wagering data on the display device that is located at a pari-mutuel racetrack facility or non-primary location. Pursuant to section 9358, this tote license is valid for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st, 2024. In accordance with the statutory authority set forth in section 9353B and its regulatory authority set forth in section 187.4B, the Commission has reviewed the submitted renewal application and the pertinent information from the tote entity, including any subsequent changes from its previously approved license application. Based on the Commission's review and consideration, it is hereby ordered that the above referenced tote license renewal application is hereby granted for the year 2024. It is further ordered that the Commission's approval is issued upon the ongoing general conditions of compliance set forth in the Act and with the following specific conditions. The totalizator shall provide the Commission with written notice of any modifications, changes, or amendments to the tote agreement as submitted and approved by the Commission no later than 15 business days after such modification, change, or amendment. Number 2, the totalizator shall provide the Commission written notice of the election to terminate or not review the tote agreement no later than 15 business days after such election. And number 3, the totalizator's license may not be conveyed, assigned, or transferred to any other person or third party without the prior approval of the Commission. That too can also be a motion.
Yes, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the totalizator company license renewals?
So moved.
Mr. Ellis on the motion. We have a second. Mr. Brighthizer on the second. Discussion of this motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next category are secondary pari-mutuel organizations and their license renewals. These will be dockets 23, 23, 40, and 41. The following order is the proposed order. And now this 31st day of October 2023, in accordance with section 9322 and 9351B2 of the Racing Act, the above applicant is seeking to renew its secondary pari-mutuel racing organization license as defined in section 9301 of the Racing Act to conduct advanced deposit wagering in Pennsylvania. Pursuant to section 9358, this SPMO license is valid for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st, 2024. In accordance with the statutory authority and regulatory authority, the Commission has reviewed the submitted renewal application and the pertinent information from the SPMO, including any subsequent changes from its previously approved license application. In addition, the above applicant has submitted statutory licensing fee associated with the SPMO renewal application. Based upon the Commission's review and consideration, it is hereby ordered that the above referenced SPMO license renewal app is granted for the period for the year 2024. Such approval is issued upon the general conditions of compliance set forth in the Act and with the following specific conditions. Number 1, the SPMO will continue to comply with all SPMO operational provisions and Commission orders, tax obligations, horsemen's purse contribution obligations, and the license renewal provisions set forth in the Racing Act. Number 2, the SPMO shall provide the Commission with written notice of any modifications, changes, or amendments to its SPMO renewal application as submitted and approved by the Commission. Number 3, the SPMO shall provide the Commission written notification of the election to terminate or modify operations within the Commonwealth no later than 15 days after such election. And number 4, the SPMO understands that its license may not be conveyed, assigned, or transferred to any other person or third party without the prior approval of the commission, and that too can be taken as an ordinance.
Thank you, Council. Do we have a motion to approve the SPMO company's license renewals?
So moved.
Commissioner Sweeney, motion, thank you. Second, Commissioner Cabana. Sorry. I think Commissioner Cabana. Yeah, we're good. So we have a motion, second, discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same sign. Any abstentions?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain from docket number 2023-40.
Okay, thank you. One abstention. Motion carries. Thank you.
Finally, for your review is the new license application for First Technology LLC, docket number 2023-10. This is the proposed order, and now this 31st day of October 2023, in accordance with section 9322 and 9351B2 of the Racing Act, the above applicant is seeking a new secondary pari-mutuel organization license as defined in section 9301 of the Racing Act to conduct advanced deposit wagering in Pennsylvania pursuant to section 9358. This SPMO license is valid for a period of 1 year commencing January 1st, 2024. In accordance with the statutory authority and regulatory authority, the Commission has timely received and reviewed the SPMO application, the applicable licensing and financial documentation, and all the necessary background investigative information provided to the Commission. In addition, the above applicant has submitted the statutory licensing fees associated with the SPMO application. Pursuant to section 9322A4 of the Racing Act, the Commission finds the general fitness and experience of the above applicant consistent with the public interest, convenience, and necessity, and in the best interest of racing generally. Based upon the Commission's review and consideration, it is hereby ordered that the above referenced SPMO license application is hereby granted for the year 2024. Such approval is issued upon the general conditions of compliance set forth in the Act and with the following conditions. The SPMO will comply with all SPMO operational provisions and commission orders, tax obligations, horseman's first contribution obligations, and the license renewal provisions set forth in the Racing Act. Number 2, the SPMO shall provide the Commission with written notice of any modifications, changes, or amendments to its SPMO application as submitted and approved by the Commission. Number 3, the SPMO shall provide the Commission written notification of the election to terminate or modify operations within the Commonwealth no later than 15 business days after such election. And finally, number 4, the SPMO understands that its license may not be conveyed, assigned, or transferred to any other person or third party without the prior approval of the Commission. And that too may be an order. Motion.
Council, thank you. We have a motion to approve the SPMO new license application for First Technology.
So moved.
We have a motion, Commissioner Ellis, with a second.
Second.
Okay, several. Commissioner Ruddy on the second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the new license application, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Tony, on the industry report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'll just remind everybody to please spell your last name for the benefit of the court reporter when you're called upon. We'll start off with Scott Lisher from the Meadows. Scott?
Thank you, Tony. Again, Scott Lisha, Director of Racing for Meadows. Last name is Lisha, L-I-S, and Sam, H-I-A. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, for the time. Finishing up October, we had a pretty busy month here. Racing was good. Things went well. We did a few outside events this October on the 7th, which was a Saturday. We hosted a walk for Alzheimer's. They utilized our facility, had vendors on the apron, and then everyone walked the track. They had over 200 participants, which was incredible. One or two food trucks, and it was a very nice event. At the end of the day, the property ended up donating over $20,000 to Alzheimer's through the casino and the different things that we did on the apron. And then on the 13th, I believe it was, of October, we partnered with the MSOA and the American Cancer Society, and we had our Pink Out evening, which was a really great success. We had one of our races on the card featured only lady drivers, and it was our highest handle race of the evening. It was very well received, and it was a great race, as a matter of fact. We hosted corgi races, three undercards, and then the finals. 9 and 10 horses in each, or 9 and 10 corgis, excuse me, in each race. It was a great time. The Meadows, in conjunction with the MSOA and GLADA, each did a presentation of a $3,000 donation, $1,000 each to the American Cancer Society. And then on top of that, the property donated another $25,000 plus. So very good events, very well received by the public. We had some a bounce house, face painters on the apron, and I was happily surprised. Usually when we have the dog races after they're over, a lot of people leave, but a fair amount of the folks hung in throughout the course of the evening. So we got very lucky with a very beautiful evening in October as well, so that always helps. And then just moving into November, we're going to do a handicapping kind of event. Mythical Bankroll, Jeff City came up with the idea. He's engaged members of the handicapping world, individuals with podcasts or just social media platforms, as well as working from some of our wagering platforms. Not He Picks, In the Money Media, expressed that. Gabe Pruitt's one of the people we spoke with, Stable Duel, the Daily Racing Forum. So we're trying to pull together maybe 8 to 10 of these individuals. We have 9 that are committed right now. They're going to do a mythical bankroll and do their picks on so many races throughout our card. Basically, we'll just keep track of what they do, and then the top 3 or the top 5 finishers will all garner money, which will be donated to the charity of their choice. We thought that with Thanksgiving and a time of where we look to help others in the holiday season, it would be a great way for us to kick something off and maybe generate some interest in our card as well. So we're putting the final pieces together, and we'll be releasing more and more information on a weekly basis on that. But hopefully everybody will have some fun with it. There'll be some interesting banner between the participants on social media, Twitter, and other platforms, and we'll donate some money to some good causes. And that's all I have.
Okay, Scott, thank you. Sounds like we should recruit some more female drivers this summer. But thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Mike Solinger from Pocono. Mike?
Hi, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Members of the commission, it's Mike Zullinger, Zullinger. So tomorrow is our final day of racing for the 2023 season. It was overall a very good year. Live handle was up 15% over last year. So we look forward to another good 2024. I just want to thank everybody for their support for racing here at Mohegan, Pennsylvania. That's all, Tony.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Barry Brown from Harris. Barry?
Thanks, Tony. B-A-R-R-Y-B-R-O-W-N, Director of Racing, Harris, Philadelphia. This past month, we ran another night racing event. We had done one also in September. It was the first time we had night racing here at Harris, Philadelphia in 2 years, and our on-track regular customer base, they were real happy to have us do that again. We like to do that a few times a year, centered around some marketing events. And the one that we just held in October was much better than the one in September, so we were real pleased with that. This Friday coming up, we have a special 2:30 post time centered around the Breeders' Cup event out in California, so we'll be running later in the day, and we'll have some stuff going on around that. And then we're racing obviously through the end of the year, through December 31st, on a 3-day per week basis. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Joe Wilson from Parks. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I'm going to pass it on to Dave.
Yes, thank you, Tony. This is David, D-A-V-I-D, Osojnak, O-S-O-J-N-A-K, Parks Director of Racing. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. Just 3 quick points. Starting next Monday, November 6th, we are adjusting our first race post time to 12:05 p.m. from the current 12:40 p.m. We have turning back our clocks this weekend, so hope to get all of our 10 races in before sundown, which we will be able to do. Parks would like to congratulate jockey Frankie Pennington on winning his 3,000th career win today at Parks in race 1. Best to him and continued success. And 1 month from today, we have our next stakes race, the Pennsylvania Nursery Stakes. Tuesday, November 28th for PA breds, 2-year-olds going 7 furlongs. The nominations close November 14th. And I think that's all for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Eric Johnson from Penn National. Eric?
Thank you, Tony. Just got back from a little hiatus here, so we had 4 weeks off. We returned to racing last week. Came back with a roar. Handle was up about 40% each day for the 3 days last week. So very excited about that. A little pent-up demand, I assume, as people really supported the product and made a nice showing for the weekend. And Friday was topped off with our pink out race. So all the jockeys were dressed in pink silks, which was pink saddle towels, in support of the Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition. Again, it's Breast Cancer Month, so we took advantage of that. And team members and our guests coming in through the casino and in through racing have donated over $10,000, and we presented a check to the Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition on Friday evening. Other than that, we're moving forward, getting ready for November. The day before Thanksgiving will be our holiday racing festival. 3 stakes, including the Pennsylvania bred. My mind's slipping here. I don't have it in front of me. But anyway, Pennsylvania bred stakes and a couple of local horses. And other than that, just getting our schedule together for the 2024 season, and very excited about everything that's going on.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
I'm sure Brian will fill in the name when he gets on.
All right. We'll go to Matt Ennis from Presque Isle. Matt?
This is Matthew Ennis, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, last name E-N-N-I-S. Presque Isle Downs wrapped up our season last week. We completed 79 race days with 1 day canceled due to poor air quality in the Erie area. This compares to 88 days in our 2022 season. Pleased to announce that although we were down 9 race days or 70 races from 2022 this year in 2023, yet we generated 3.3 million more in export handle. So overall, a complete success for this property and for Churchill Downs on site. Attendance as well was up 31% year over year. We are wrapping things up here at the property with our last day of training being this morning, and our backside closing this Friday until April of 2024. So looking forward to our race season in 2024. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Sam or Mike? Mike from the PHHA.
Mike Harant, H-A-R-A-N-T. Don't have a whole lot to report. Pocono's last day's tomorrow. Just want to congratulate our leading driver, Matt Kikali, and leading trainer, Ron Burke. We got another 2 months at Chester, finished December 31st. And as a kid who went to Parks a lot when he was growing up, because we didn't have any harness down here, I want to congratulate Frankie Pennington on win number 3,000 today. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Kim Hankins, NSOA. Kim, you still on?
Still here. Thank you. Kim Hankins, Hankins. No report this month. Thank you.
Okay, Kim. Todd Mosteller, HBPA. Nope, no Todd today. Jeff Matty, PTHA. Jeff.
Thanks, Tony. This is Jeff Matty. Jeff, J-E-F-F, Matty, M-A-T-T-Y. Quick update. Yesterday we had our Del Val Day at the races. For those of you that don't know, we hosted 65 students from Delaware Valley University, all studying equine studies. We had about 15 guest speakers. The PTHA awarded 5 $1,000 scholarships to select students. And I'd like to thank Parks Racing and Joe Wilson for setting us up with a tremendous buffet for the afternoon. So it was great to see some youth here on race day, especially during the week, and it injected a lot of light and enthusiasm. And so far, about 10 of those students have reached out to us today looking to shadow or possibly work for not only the PTHA, but career professionals back here, whether it be veterinarians, dentists, blacksmiths. Some have interest in maybe race calling. Jessica Paquette and Chris Griffin gave them a rundown of what that career looks like. So a lot of enthusiasm, and on behalf of the horsemen and me too, congratulate Frankie Pennington.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Jim or Mike Simpson from the Standardbred Breeders.
Mike Simpson, S-I-M-P-S-O-N. No report today.
Okay, Mike. I'll just say a reminder for everybody that the Harrisburg sale starts next week, the yearling sale, so next Monday. Brian Sanfratello is not with us today. He's on vacation celebrating his 50-year wedding anniversary. So God bless Mrs. Sanfratello. But we have Avery Levante is with us. So Avery, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. First name is Avery. It's A-V-E-R-I-E. Last name Levante, L-E-V-A-N-T-I. I am the executive coordinator for PHPA, so I'm just here filling in for Brian. So revenue from slots of the breeding fund was up $618,804 as of last Wednesday. The reason being the transfers and other items are not taken out. Once the budget's completed, we expect most or all of that amount to be fully used up. If it had been taken out on a weekly basis since July, the number would not be positive. So we will expect it to be most or all about even. The November issue of the Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred, we had, I had written just a recap on our PA bred races on PA Derby Day. It was a little rainy, a little chilly, but we still had some good racing, and it was topped by the Pennsylvania bred Nimitz class winning the $300,000 Parks Dirt Mile, where he beat multiple Grade 1 winner Gunite. So it did end up being a pretty good day, even though we did get taken off the turf for our alphabet soup. And then in addition, I believe at the last meeting, Brian did mention our Plus Vital research that we did alongside Penn Vet. And Dr. Mary Robinson is here to just explain a little further and answer any questions. She put together a really nice cover page for us, and we sent each of the owners of every horse. We tested about 500 horses, and they each got the results of their horses along with that cover letter. So she's just here to answer any questions and whatnot. Thank you.
Thank you, Avery. Hello again, everybody. So the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association helped facilitate this collaboration with Dr. Emmeline Hill, who's at the University of Dublin, Ireland, and is a geneticist. So she was critical in the equine sequencing project and has been working in the genomics world for quite some time. So we partnered with them to collect samples from 506 of the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders Association breeding stock. Lauren Pittman is our technician who did that collection and organized all the samples. She is supported by the funding for the Equine Biobank that the Pennsylvania Horse Breeders supplied. And so those samples were then sent to Dr. Hill over in Ireland, and analyzed, and as Avery mentioned, an individual report was provided to each of the breeders for their particular horses. What they were looking for was something called the level of inbreeding, and I'm not a geneticist, so I had to learn this alongside everyone else. There are two different types of inbreeding that they were looking for. One is what they call historic inbreeding, and those are genes that provide an advantage to the breed. So they're genes that have been selected over many, many years that we know offer an advantage to the breed. And then the other type of inbreeding they're looking for is what they call recent inbreeding. So these are genetic changes that have occurred more recently that may have a detrimental effect on the breed. And so they were looking at all different types of these different genes and markers. One marker in particular that they have published on previously is called THR14. That particular marker is associated with a decreased likelihood of the horse ever getting to race. And so they evaluated that particular marker as well as the general levels of inbreeding for these horses. Overall in the population, there was a slightly higher level of what the recent inbreeding, so that's the detrimental type of inbreeding. And so using the individual reports that were provided, the breeders can then select to try and reduce that amount of inbreeding. The THR14 incidence within the Pennsylvania population was similar to what has been seen nationally within the United States. So that's also something that those breeders can then take. They can look to see if they have a carrier, make sure that they're not breeding that carrier to another carrier, which would then potentially increase that detrimental gene in the population. So it's been a really interesting study. Again, I'm not a geneticist. We are further partnering with Dr. Hill. We put in a Grayson grant together that she was the primary author on, and I'm the supporting author on that, as well as Dr. Joanne Haffman in my lab, to further look at the genetic risks that may predict if horses are at risk for fracture. So we're really excited about this line of work. Again, it's not my direct expertise, but it's a collaboration that's been really well suited. And the biobank set us up for this perfectly because we've been collecting samples from horses with injuries all along and able to then drill into the genetics of those particular horses alongside Dr. Hill. So does anybody have any questions regarding this work?
Very simple. So the historical, and that's just by knowing the breeding history of the horse, right? Because obviously you don't have any blood from centuries ago, but and just sort of.
I'm not the person to ask, unfortunately, but I can certainly put you in touch with Dr.
It sounds like a project for AI.
Yeah.
Seriously, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't, right? That some computer could determine.
Exactly. I don't understand how they figured out which ones were the good genes for historical versus which ones are the more recent inbreeding genes. That's beyond my scope of understanding, but I'm certainly happy to put you in touch with Dr. Hill so that you can have further conversation with her.
I wanted to make sure it wasn't real obvious because it wasn't obvious.
No, it's definitely not obvious. You're not
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
So the plan is to continue this, right? So you've done it once.
So we did essentially a population scan of the horses that are in the current breeding population in Pennsylvania. This has now been expanded. She's got an arrangement with the jockey club to be able to get wider population samples. And then we put in this grant to try and further this work using a wider selection of samples. So it'll be really interesting to see where it ends up based on it. But it was all kind of initiated by the work that I have to really give a shout out to Deanna Manfredi at the Breeders Organization. She's on the board and she's also on the medication committee at the PHBA. She was the one that alerted me to Dr. Hill's work on this particular marker and said, hey, can we develop a test that we could run to look for this? And so it was really Deanna who put us in contact and made the connection happen. So it's one of those fortuitous things where it just happened to all fall into place. So if you have an idea, please share it. And you never know what may come out of it.
Good, thank you. Other questions, comments? We're good. Okay, Tony, any other?
Mike, no public comment, right?
No, sir, no public comment requested today.
Okay.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, everybody. Again, appreciate being here, sticking with us. Next meeting, November 28th, here, and hybrid, but most of Thanksgiving will occur before then, and happy Thanksgiving to all. With a motion then to adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
And to you, Sal, thank you. A motion, a second. Everybody said?
Yes.